Let's start with the First Descendant. If you're into shooters with big, dynamic environments and a healthy dose of futuristic gear, the First Descendant might just be your new addiction. It's got that fast, fluid combat, where you're constantly moving, aiming, and dodging, and it makes every encounter feel epic. You're not just shooting, you're using all these unique abilities that each Descendant has, and they're honestly so fun to play around with. Whether you're summoning shields, blasting enemies with elemental attacks, or even leaping from enemy to enemy in a cool, acrobatic attack, the gameplay feels fresh and satisfying. You can choose from a roster of Descendants, each with their own skills and style, so there's a lot of room to experiment and find what works for you. The First Descendant doesn't hold back when it comes to boss battles. These aren't your average, shoot a few rounds and they're done bosses. We're talking about massive, screen-filling enemies that require real strategy to beat. You have to learn their attack patterns, dodge their moves, and work with your team to take them down. It's challenging, but in a way that keeps you on your toes, and makes every victory feel like a big win. It's the kind of game where you'll high-five your friends, virtually at least, after a tough battle. One thing that sets the First Descendant apart is its emphasis on teamwork. You can play solo, sure, but the game really shines when you're running missions with friends or teaming up online. The Descendants are designed to complement each other, so if you're working together with a good group, it adds a ton of strategy to the combat. Next we have Deliver Us Mars. It's a sci-fi adventure that revolves around exploration, problem-solving, and survival. But it's not just about landing on Mars and wandering around. It has this knack for making you feel like you're actually there, handling the challenges of space exploration firsthand. You'll find yourself climbing massive structures, working through intricate puzzles, and managing your resources in ways that feel rewarding. Every obstacle isn't just a hurdle, it's a step in a larger mission that feels bigger than yourself. One of the most standout features here is the sense of immersion. The game does an incredible job of making you feel the weight of its setting. Mars is not a forgiving place, and you'll quickly realize that. The environment itself becomes a key player in your journey, and every step forward feels like a small triumph. Whether it's figuring out how to tackle a tricky climb or navigating through the planet's more hostile regions, the game keeps you on your toes. What makes this game so compelling is the way it balances its quiet, reflective moments with its intense challenges. It's not all action all the time. Some sections have this almost meditative quality where you're soaking in the scale of the mission and the enormity of the world around you. And just when you're feeling comfortable, the game ramps up the stakes, reminding you that this isn't just an ordinary day at the office. The puzzles in Deliver Us Mars are another highlight. They're not the kind of puzzles that leave you scratching your head for hours. They're the kind that make you stop, think, and appreciate the ingenuity behind them. Next we have Usant, a game that's all about the climb, literally. This isn't your typical action-packed adventure or sprawling open-world game. Instead, Usant takes you on a vertical journey, putting the focus squarely on the simple yet profound act of scaling a massive, mysterious tower. Sounds straightforward? Sure, but there's a certain magic in how this game turns something so seemingly simple into such an engaging experience. You control each movement, each grip, and each leap, which makes every ascent feel like a tiny victory. The way the mechanics work, it's almost like a puzzle, where you're constantly figuring out the best route, testing your limits, and adapting to the challenges the climb throws at you. What sets Usant apart is how immersive the climbing itself feels. You're not just scaling some generic wall. You're interacting with the environment, discovering little details, and feeling connected to the act of climbing in a way that's surprisingly meditative. It's about pacing yourself, finding your rhythm, and really soaking in the experience as you ascend higher and higher. And let's not forget about your little companion. You're not climbing alone. There's a quirky creature by your side who adds a touch of charm and personality to the whole journey. It's not just there for show either. This little buddy has a knack for helping you out in ways that feel intuitive and clever, adding an extra layer to the gameplay. Exploration is another key part of Usant. As you climb, you'll come across these intriguing little pockets of the world that feel like they're begging to be discovered. Next we have Tales of Arise. From the moment you jump in, it feels like the start of an epic road trip. Except instead of a car, you've got a team of incredible characters. And instead of highways, you're trekking through lush landscapes and fantastical settings. It's a game that constantly encourages you to explore, fight, and grow stronger, all while keeping you invested in the journey. Forget slow, turn-based action. This is fast, fluid, and downright addictive. So you've got combos, flashy skills, and an entire party of characters with unique fighting styles to experiment with. The game doesn't just let you button mash your way through. It rewards you for learning the rhythm of attacks, dodging at just the right moment, and timing your skills perfectly. Pulling off a massive combo or chaining abilities with your party feels incredible every time. Speaking of the party, the characters in Tales of Arise are such a highlight. Each one feels distinct, both in how they fight and how they interact. This isn't one of those games where your companions feel like accessories. They're integral to everything. They're constantly bantering, chiming in during fights, or offering insights as you explore. Exploration is another area where Tales of Arise shines. Whether you're diving into caves, trekking through forests, or wandering vast fields, the game makes every area feel worth your time. There's a sense of discovery in every corner, hidden treasure, optional fights, and even moments where the scenery alone makes you stop and take it all in. It's the kind of game where wandering off the beaten path always feels rewarding. Next we have Ghostwire Tokyo. Imagine a bustling, neon-lit city suddenly shrouded in eerie silence. The streets are empty, save for the ghostly apparitions roaming about, and you're the only one standing between them and complete chaos. That's the vibe here, and it's as intriguing as it sounds. You're essentially a modern-day exorcist, wielding a mix of elemental powers and ancient techniques to take on spirits, yokai, and all sorts of paranormal weirdness. But don't think of it as just a spooky game. It's more like an action-packed, ghost-busting extravaganza, with a healthy dose of Japanese folklore woven into its core. Combat in this game is unlike anything else. You're not swinging swords or shooting guns. Instead, you're performing intricate hand gestures that unleash elemental attacks. Think fireballs, wind slashes, and water blasts, all executed in a way that feels so fluid and satisfying. Each move has a purpose, and figuring out the right combination to deal with different enemies is a huge part of the fun. And let me tell you, ripping out a ghost's core with your bare hands never gets old. The enemies you face are just as fascinating as the combat itself. These aren't your run-of-the-mill ghosts. They're uniquely designed, each with their own creepy yet mesmerizing look. From faceless office workers to towering umbrella spirits, every encounter feels like you're stepping into a dark folklore tale. And because they all behave differently, you're constantly switching up your strategy. So, if you're in the mood for something different, Ghostwire Tokyo is your ticket. Next we have Thymesia. If you've ever played action RPGs that thrive on precise, skill-based gameplay, you'll feel right at home. The combat in Thymesia is all about speed, timing, and strategy. It's fast, fluid, and incredibly satisfying when you get the hang of it. You'll need to dodge, parry, and strike with precision, because the enemies here don't mess around. But don't worry, Thymesia gives you some pretty awesome tools to fight back. One of the coolest things about the combat is the plague weapon system. Essentially, you can steal and wield the special abilities of your enemies. How cool is that? It's like turning their own power against them, and it adds a whole new layer of strategy. You can customize your playstyle by collecting and upgrading these plague weapons, so whether you want to focus on raw damage, ranged attacks, or something more tactical, the game lets you experiment. What's great is that Thymesia doesn't waste your time. It's a tight, streamlined experience that respects the player. There's no endless grinding or filler. Every moment feels purposeful, whether you're fighting enemies, exploring eerie locations, or upgrading your abilities. It's one of those games where you feel like you're constantly progressing, which keeps things engaging from start to finish. The bosses in this game deserve a special mention. They're tough, sure, but they're also super creative. Each one feels like a puzzle you have to solve, not just in how you fight them, but in how you approach the encounter. They're challenging, but not in a frustrating way. It's more about learning their patterns, figuring out the best strategy, and then nailing that execution. Next we have Call of the Sea. If you're in the mood for something a little different, something vibrant, mysterious, and dripping with heart, this game should be on your radar. It's not about high-octane action or gritty battles. Nope. This is a game that invites you to slow down, soak in the scenery, and get lost in a beautifully crafted story. The premise of Call of the Sea is pretty simple, yet totally intriguing. You play as Nora, a woman searching for her missing husband on a strange, uncharted island. But here's the twist. This island isn't just any island. It's bursting with mystery and an air of otherworldly magic. From the moment you arrive, you know you're in for something special. As you delve deeper, you'll encounter ruins, puzzles, and little details that hint at something much bigger and a bit stranger than you might expect. And let me tell you, the puzzles in this game are so satisfying. They're challenging enough to make you think, but never so frustrating that you feel stuck for hours. It's the kind of game that rewards you for paying attention to your surroundings. Every little detail, an engraving on a rock, a piece of paper tucked away in a corner, could be the key to solving the next puzzle. And when you do figure it out, it's such a rewarding moment. What I really love about Call of the Sea is how unique it feels. It's not trying to be a blockbuster game or follow any trends. Instead, it carves out its own little niche as a thoughtful, beautiful, and emotionally resonant adventure. It's a game that reminds you why you love exploring new worlds. Next we have Nobody Wants to Die. So the game is all about survival, but it's not your typical endless hordes of zombies or apocalypse simulator kind of survival. It's much more personal. The stakes feel smaller and bigger at the same time because it's all about you, your decisions, your reflexes, and your ability to handle chaos when it inevitably hits. And chaos will hit. That's half the fun. The gameplay is fast, challenging, and keeps you constantly on edge, but not in a frustrating way. It's one of those games where every decision feels like it matters. You're balancing quick reflexes with strategic thinking, and the tension ramps up beautifully. One of the things I really loved about Nobody Wants to Die is how it keeps surprising you. Just when you think you've got the mechanics or the pace figured out, the game throws a curveball. It's not unfair, though. It's clever. You're constantly learning and adapting. What really stands out, though, is how the game makes you care. Again, no spoilers, but there are moments where you stop and think about what you're doing, not in a heavy-handed or preachy way, but in a subtle, thoughtful way. It sneaks up on you, this sense of connection to the world and the choices you're making. By the end, you're not just playing to win, you're playing because you're invested. It's one of those games that's easy to pick up, but hard to master. Whether you're a casual gamer who just wants to have fun or a hardcore player chasing perfection, there's something here for you. Overall, Nobody Wants to Die is a fantastic little gem of a game. It's smart, stylish, and surprisingly emotional. Next we have Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. This game is like stepping into an epic martial arts fantasy, filled with action, adventure, and just the right amount of challenge to keep things interesting. If you've got a thing for intense combat, rich lore, and a bit of mysticism, this one's calling your name. It's set in ancient China during the Three Kingdoms era, but with a twist. Think powerful warriors, legendary battles, and, oh yeah, mythical creatures just roaming around like it's nothing. Now, Wo Long takes inspiration from Nioh and other challenging action games, but it's got a style that feels fresh and unique. The combat in this game is fast-paced, strategic, and incredibly rewarding once you get the hang of it. You'll be parrying, dodging, and striking at just the right moment, so every move feels intentional. When you nail that perfect dodge or counter, it's this rush of satisfaction that keeps you coming back for more. But let's be real, this game isn't going to hold your hand. It's tough, but in the best way. You're not just mashing buttons. You're learning the rhythm, timing, and finesse of martial arts, and that makes every fight feel epic. But what really takes Wo Long up a notch is the mix of mythology. You're not just up against regular soldiers or warriors. There are legendary creatures from Chinese folklore thrown into the mix. These bosses and mythical beasts add this otherworldly layer to the game, making every encounter feel epic. Imagine squaring off with creatures that look like they walked out of a legend, all while wielding your own supernatural abilities. Next, we have No Rest for the Wicked. It's not just a straightforward action game. There's this almost noir quality to it, a kind of slow burn suspense that keeps you hooked. You're dropped into this atmospheric world that feels both familiar and alien. You're always on alert, and it makes exploration feel like a tense but thrilling experience. The game has a combat system that feels tight, with a mix of melee and ranged options that keep things fresh. It's not just about button mashing. There's strategy involved, especially when you're dealing with multiple enemies or more powerful foes. You have to pick your battles, time your attacks, and sometimes just know when to run. It's intense, but not in a way that's overwhelming. It just makes every encounter feel meaningful. You're not just blowing through enemies, you're surviving each fight, and that survival element adds a layer of realism that's honestly refreshing. And the exploration? That's where the game really shines. It rewards you for being curious, for wandering off the beaten path, and it makes you feel like a detective in your own thriller. There are notes, clues, and environmental details that flesh out the story without hitting you over the head with it. You feel like you're discovering the story piece by piece, and each find just pulls you deeper into this twisted world. It's a game that doesn't hold your hand, which I love. You're left to figure things out on your own, which makes every discovery feel earned. The story, without giving away anything, dives into the darker side of human nature. It's the kind of narrative that's layered and makes you think. Next we have Fort Solis. The first thing that really grabs you about Fort Solis is how it pulls you into its world. Right off the bat, it nails that eerie, isolated feel. You're on this remote Mars station, and something's clearly gone wrong. You can almost feel the quiet, cold atmosphere seep into you. What I love most about this game is its pacing. It's not an action-packed thrill ride. Instead, it's all about building suspense and making you feel like you're uncovering the mystery at your own pace. It's very narrative-driven. Almost like you're in an interactive movie or one of those late-night sci-fi thrillers. You don't have all the answers, and the game doesn't throw them at you right away. It's all about exploration and discovery. And honestly, that's so refreshing. I found myself so absorbed in just walking around, piecing things together, and letting myself get lost in the story. The game also encourages you to explore, and that's where it gets even more interesting. You'll stumble upon logs, notes, and little clues that add to the story bit by bit. It's like you're this detective, piecing together what happened, and each discovery pulls you deeper into the mystery. There's something so satisfying about slowly uncovering the truth and piecing together the lives of people you never actually meet. It's that attention to detail that makes the whole experience feel rich and rewarding. The game doesn't hold your hand. You're given the freedom to explore, to dig around, to figure things out on your own. It respects your curiosity. Next we have Code Vein. You're thrown into a post-apocalyptic world where humanity has taken a back seat, and beings called revenants, basically superpowered humans with a thirst for blood, are struggling to keep it together. The kicker? You're one of them. That means you've got abilities and strengths that make you feel like an absolute powerhouse. But there's always a price to pay. This constant balancing act between unleashing your potential and managing your limits is one of the most intriguing aspects of the game. What really sets Code Vein apart is how much control it gives you. This is not a one-size-fits-all experience. From the moment you start, you're shaping your character to be exactly who you want them to be. Want to wield massive swords and crush enemies with brute force? Go for it. Prefer a faster, more agile approach? You can do that too. And it doesn't stop at weapons. Your blood code, basically your character's skill set, lets you completely change your playstyle on the fly. You're not locked into one way of playing, which is great because it encourages experimentation. Every fight becomes an opportunity to try something new, to push your limits, and to see what works best. Combat in Code Vein is where the magic happens. It's not just about mashing buttons and hoping for the best. No, this game wants you to think, to strategize. Every enemy feels like a challenge, but not in an unfair way. Timing, positioning, and knowing when to go all in or when to back off are key. Code Vein is waiting for you to carve your path. Next we have Reveal. Imagine stepping into a mysterious atmospheric carnival with all its uncanny charm, but with just the right dash of horror. That's Reveal, an exploration-heavy psychological thriller that has you questioning reality and your own sense of direction from the first step. What's great about Reveal is how it doesn't just hand you a story, it slowly unravels one, piece by piece, while keeping you on edge. The game has this captivating way of drawing you in with puzzles and clues, letting you uncover bits of the story at your own pace. It's all about discovery, and you're never sure what's waiting around the next corner. The narrative feels like a mystery you're dying to solve, but it's also unsettling enough to make you hesitate. There's something almost nostalgic about exploring these rundown carnival grounds. It's creepy but familiar, like a strange childhood memory you'd almost forgotten. Reveal doesn't just throw easy challenges at you. It's got puzzles that require you to think, explore, and sometimes double back. But they're the good kind of puzzles, the ones that make you feel clever for solving them. You might need to pay attention to the tiniest details, or remember something you saw in a completely different area, which adds a layer of satisfaction when you piece it together. It's not just about clicking things until they work. It's about truly engaging with the environment and letting the story unfold through your interactions. Every location feels crafted to add to the story. Next we have Squirrel with a Gun. I know, the title alone is enough to make you chuckle. I mean, a squirrel with a gun? It's such a ridiculous concept, but that's exactly what makes it so fun. The game doesn't take itself seriously at all, and that's why I love it. You're literally a squirrel, running around with firearms, causing chaos in this open-world environment. From the moment you pick up your first weapon, you're like, wait, is this real? Am I actually doing this? And yes, you are. The way the squirrel moves and interacts with the world is hilarious. You can pick up a gun, and the recoil sends your tiny squirrel body flying all over the place. I found myself just shooting things to see how far I'd get launched. You'd think that would get old after a while, but it really doesn't. Every time I'd go airborne, it cracked me up. The game is just pure, chaotic fun, and it's all about experimenting with the mechanics. One of my favorite things to do was ambush the NPCs. The reactions are priceless. People just freak out, running away from this tiny squirrel holding a huge gun. It's like the game knows how absurd it is, and just leans into it. The missions are equally hilarious. You'll have objectives like stealing from humans, sabotaging things, and just causing general mayhem. There's even a storyline which I didn't expect going in. It's light, and doesn't get in the way of the fun, but it gives you a little more structure if you want something to work toward. At its core, Squirrel with a Gun is all about chaos and laughs. You're not playing it for deep storytelling or complex mechanics. Next we have the Talos Principle 2. First off, if you played the first game, you'll know the vibe. If you didn't, no worries, you can jump right into this one without missing a beat, though playing the first one is absolutely worth it. The Talos Principle 2 takes everything the original did so well. Mind-bending puzzles, stunning environments, and thought-provoking storytelling, and cranks it up a notch. The puzzles are the star of the show here. And let me tell you, they're the perfect mix of I'm a genius, and why is my brain a potato? You'll be moving laser beams, toggling switches, and manipulating time in ways that make you feel like some kind of futuristic architect. And the best part? The game gives you the tools and the space to figure things out. There's no hand-holding, but it's never unfair. It's just you, your wits, and the occasional aha moment that feels like you just unlocked the secrets of the universe. But the puzzles aren't just puzzles, they're part of a bigger picture. This game is packed with layers, both in its gameplay and its story. As you wander through its breathtaking environments, and they are breathtaking, you start to piece together this intricate narrative about humanity, artificial intelligence, and what it means to be alive. It's deep, but in a way that sneaks up on you. Speaking of the world, let's just take a moment to appreciate how beautiful it is. The visuals in the Talos Principle 2 are stunning. There's this blend of ancient ruins, futuristic tech, and nature reclaiming everything that makes every area feel like a painting. Next we have the Thaumaturge. It's not just another RPG, it's a deep, thoughtful experience with a twist. The power of thaumaturgy. And no, that's not just a fancy word for magic. It's something way cooler. It's about tapping into forces that go beyond the natural world. Forces that are strange, powerful, and sometimes downright unsettling. As a thaumaturge, you have the unique ability to interact with these forces and summon beings called salators, creatures that are as fascinating as they are unpredictable. These aren't your standard fireball-throwing spells or sword-swinging summons. Salators feel alive, almost sentient, and they add this wild, untamed energy to everything you do. The gameplay is all about choices, how you use your powers, how you interact with the world, and how you deal with the situations thrown at you. And let me tell you, the game doesn't shy away from challenging you to think. Every decision feels meaningful, and the consequences, they're real. You'll quickly learn that being a thaumaturge isn't just about wielding power. It's about balancing it, understanding it, and sometimes fearing it. Combat in the game has this really unique flavor. It's tactical, but it's also personal. You're not just throwing attacks around willy-nilly. You're using your saluters in ways that feel strategic and, honestly, really clever. Each saluter has its own abilities and quirks, and figuring out how to use them effectively is like solving a puzzle during every battle. Next, we have Soma. It's more like a slow burn that gets under your skin and stays there long after you finish playing. And honestly, I loved every minute of it. So, here's the setup. You wake up in this eerie underwater facility, and things are not okay. The place is falling apart, and there's this oppressive atmosphere that screams, yeah, bad things happened here. Right from the start, Soma nails the what the heck is going on vibe. You're piecing things together bit by bit. And let me tell you, every revelation hits harder than the last. Now don't let the horror label scare you off if you're not into jump scares. This isn't the kind of game that throws cheap shocks at you every 5 minutes. It's more about creating this heavy, unsettling mood where even silence feels dangerous. Sure, there are moments where you'll have to deal with some very unfriendly entities, but those encounters feel more like a natural extension of the story than a cheap thrill. The real genius of Soma, though, is its story. Let's just say it dives deep, literally and figuratively. This is a game that doesn't just want to scare you. It wants to make you think. It explores big, existential questions about identity, consciousness, and what it means to be human. You know, light stuff. But it does it in a way that feels natural and personal, not preachy. And the setting? Oh man, the underwater environment is a masterpiece. It's not just a backdrop, it's a character in itself. The sound design is incredible too. You'll hear the groaning of metal, the distant rush of water, and sometimes things you wish you hadn't heard. Next we have Satisfactory. I'm telling you, it's so addictive, but in the best way possible. It's basically all about building the most insane, efficient factories you can think of, but on this massive alien planet. And the scale of it just keeps getting bigger the longer you play. The first time I played, I had no idea how deep it was going to get. You start off with this small little base, mining some resources, and before you know it, you've got conveyor belts going in every direction, towering machines, and all these interconnected systems running like a well-oiled machine. It's such a satisfying feeling when everything clicks and your factory just runs itself. One of the coolest things about Satisfactory is that it gives you total freedom to design your factory how you want. You can be super organized and create these clean, beautiful setups, or you can go full chaos with machines stacked on top of each other, belts weaving all over the place. It's all up to you, and I love that about the game. There's no wrong way to play. It's all about creativity, and the world you're on is gorgeous. I didn't expect it to be so beautiful for a game that's all about industry and automation, but you're exploring this massive, lush alien planet with all kinds of biomes. Sometimes I just find myself wandering around, checking out the scenery, and appreciating the environment before going back to the madness of factory building. The exploration aspect is honestly underrated. You're not just stuck at your base, you get to venture out, find new resources, and even unlock cool tech. I love that sense of discovery. Next we have Warframe. If you've ever thought, I wish I could be a space ninja, then congratulations. This game is basically your dream come true. It's sleek, fast, and just downright fun to play. First off, this game is free. Like, really free. Not that free to play but good luck without spending money kind of free. Warframe genuinely lets you dive in and have a blast without opening your wallet. Honestly, it's wild how much content you get for nothing. Massive open worlds, fast-paced missions, deep lore. It's all just there waiting for you. The first thing that grabbed me about Warframe was the sheer speed and fluidity of movement. You're not just running around like some clunky action hero. Oh no, you're bullet jumping, wall running, and flipping through levels like a sci-fi acrobat. The parkour system is so smooth that sometimes I catch myself replaying missions just to nail a perfect run. Combine that with the melee combat, and you feel like an unstoppable blur of blades and energy. It's one of those games that makes you feel cool even if you're messing up. And let's talk about the Warframes themselves. They're like the ultimate mix of mech suits and superheroes, each with their own unique abilities. Whether you're summoning energy waves, going invisible, or turning into a walking tank, there's a Warframe for every playstyle. I started with one that felt like a good all-rounder. But the more I played, the more I realized how fun it was to experiment. The combat is where things get addictive. You've got guns, melee weapons, and abilities, and the combination of all three means you can approach fights however you want. Next we have Infinity Nikki. This game is such a delightful mix of creativity, adventure, and pure fun. It's one of those titles that doesn't just give you a world to explore. It hands you the keys and says, go ahead, make it your own. Whether you're experimenting with mechanics, solving challenges, or just taking in the gameplay features, Infinity Nikki keeps you engaged and smiling all the way through. One of the most exciting parts of the game is how interactive it feels. It's not just about going from point A to point B, it's about immersing yourself in everything the game has to offer. There are tons of little moments that reward curiosity and experimentation, whether it's discovering a clever way to solve a problem or finding a hidden interaction you weren't expecting. The mechanics are incredibly satisfying. Everything feels intuitive and polished. So it's easy to pick up, but it also has layers of depth that make it fun to master. Whether you're tackling challenges, trying out different approaches, or just experimenting with the tools at your disposal, it's all so fluid and enjoyable. There's always something new to try or a different way to engage with the gameplay. It feels like the developers really wanted to give players freedom and creativity, and it shows in how many options you have to interact with the world. The puzzles are another highlight. They're clever without being overly complicated, which makes them feel rewarding, but never frustrating. Solving them gives you that little dopamine hit, like you've just figured out the missing piece of a puzzle, and it makes you want to keep going.